Welcome to this episode of Chai with Director Rai at IIMI. With me today is Professor Uttiyo Raychaudhuri, the Vice Provost of the University of Denver. It's so good to have you over, Uttiyo. Welcome to IIM Indore.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
So, Uttiyo, from our shared school days to now leading internationalization efforts, your journey has been one of growth and adventure. And I've actually witnessed it all as we grew up together. Can you share a cherished memory from our school years that reflects your interest in academia and beyond?
Yeah, school was quite an adventure for us. The fun we had, the friends we had, and also the learning we had. I think it shaped a lot of who you wanted to be. It pushed us a little, but it also inspired us to go. One of the most inspiring moments for me was in my first grade. And we called her Auntie, Manju Shankaran.
Yeah.
I think till even today, she was the most influential first grade teacher someone could have. And I still remember this after decades and decades. And I think she inspired me to learn. And that really changed. I don't know what I would have been, how would I have been otherwise or not. I was just barely 6, but it got me going.
Absolutely. Now, beyond your professional endeavors, you have always had a passion for exploration and adventure, just like I've been into mountaineering, and recently I even did a skydive, and that was something out of my comfort zone. Can you recount a memorable travel experience that pushed you out of your comfort zone and left a lasting impression on you? And how do you balance your love for adventure with your responsibilities?
Yeah, I think the best way to do this, Himanshu, is to mix the two. The marriage when work, adventure, travel can come together is fantastic. First, I started out traveling. It was about how many stamps on the passport. And I think I counted a good bunch, the first 50 or so. And then I traveled. I was not chasing the number, but I was chasing the experience. I tell this to my students who've come along with me when I've done study abroad, but I can't constantly tell it to myself that this is not a discovery of the destination, but it eventually turns into the discovery of yourself.
Absolutely.
And every place I go has expanded my view, a better understanding of who we are, whether we are meaningless in this vast universe, or we can make a huge difference in the world where we are. But of our responsibilities, social responsibilities, our values, all of that. And I've been to some amazing places. Antarctica, one of them.
Absolutely.
The white landscape.
And you taking me there next.
Yes, you are on the schedule. So we will be definitely going together and getting a chance to see that fragile continent speaks a lot about why we need to save this planet. It's quite the moving experience.
Absolutely. No, Uttiyo, I've known you for years now, and I know how deeply connected you are to your roots and to your heritage. How do you infuse elements of your culture and upbringing into your work and daily life?
That's a very good question. I came into academia after a career in architecture. I still think like an architect. I think that happened not by design. I chose it pretty last minute to be an architect. A lot of people would tell that that's what I should have been, but I'd never considered it till I became the architect. I used to paint, and do that, and I loved physics. But then coming into that opened my eyes. And as I delved into that, I started understanding the roots of how form, function, the semantics of all of that came together. And there's tons of information to learn in how Indian architecture has been shaped by Indian philosophy. So I stuck to those roots. Later on, I got into design thinking. Now, when I even do the work and all of that, I go back to some of those roots that I learned from that it all begins with empathy. Without that, without an understanding of the other, we don't know who we are ourselves. And I think those are such deep aspects of our own culture that are embedded there.
Absolutely.
And I take that forward in all the work I do. I think there's some great learnings, and we have had some great reasons to go back to the strengths of our own heritage. It's a matter of huge and immense pride for me.
I can understand. And any particular tradition or practice that holds a special significance for you and influences your style?
I'm quite invested in understanding the philosophical roots of how things go. I can't quote the slokas because, unfortunately, I mean, sometimes I read it in Sanskrit, but I often read the English translation. But the Gita has been something that has given me sense of purpose, calm, and inspired me to be who I want to be. I just go back and think, when the battlefield and with all the chaos around me, I can still zone in. And I do that in my work. I do that in leading my team, in my team leading me, and working with others, leading the university with its efforts, but trying to make a difference through higher education. But even in my own life, just with my two boys, that has been very, very moving, inspiring, given a sense of purpose.
And that's one thing that we share in common, the Gita. Karmane vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan ma karfal heturbhu ma te sangos akarmani. So, Uttiyo, transitioning from academia to administration involves navigating very new challenges and opportunities. How do you see your background in geography and environment studies shaping your leadership style and the approach to the internationalization efforts?
That's an excellent question. Geography, the work of the environment, internationalization, even though it seems different, was actually at the core of the work that I continue to do as an architect. It is about, looking at spaces, thinking about spaces. There is a GPS coordinate in all things we do. We ask people, where are you from? Trying to make a mental map. It's the same kind of philosophy, but I was always quite interested, since I started doing architecture, about the relevance of place, our place. What do we mean to be on this planet? We used to call it at that point intelligent architecture, which has now become green architecture and has all these other names to it. And that always moved me. So when I started from architecture to academia, it may seem like a break, but it was actually a continuation. So I did my work in sustainable development. I worked on issues of environmental justice, looking at how privilege and policies have changed, federal land use in the US and who is advantaged or not. And that continued on to my PhD work. So when I started teaching in the classroom, it was the same. And that we took forward when we worked in international education. So the first programs that I designed, which eventually, I'm very proud to say, went on to get recognized for innovation and the high skill awards, were all based on sustainability. So my work is about humans in the environment. So the courses, whether we are going to Fiji, whether we are going out to the Great Barrier Reef and looking at turtles hatchling from Lady Elliot Island, or whether we have been in India and traveling in this journey, or Antarctica, we are looking at the place of humans in the environment. What can we learn from the sustainable things? How has societal change influenced it? What are we doing? How the environment is changing physically, culturally, all of that. So there is a connection.
Wonderful. Now, can you share a moment from your professional journey that not only influenced your approach to internationalization efforts, but also left a lasting impression on you personally?
Yes, there have been numerous events of this kind. but few of them have been very moving. In my first visit down in New Zealand, when we designed the program, it was just 20 students and me and my colleague from the University of Georgia. We were driving this van and going around this amazingly beautiful South Island. And over there we met, when we came back to Christchurch, and as we were thinking through this, we met a gentleman named Pat Devlin. Unfortunately, Professor Devlin passed away last year. But of many people I've met, he was one of the most amazing personalities who moved me with his humility and his approach towards everything around us. How he had embraced his own understanding as a white person towards the Maori culture, his gratitude to the land, his understanding of the environmental sciences, his love for teaching people about it, and all things he did by trying to lead with an example and then have people just be inspired to do the same. And that moved me.
Wow, that sounds like a remarkable person.
It was, and he was an amazing gentleman. And that started my journey. I don't know if I'm anywhere close to that, but I try to live with those basic principles.
Wonderful. Now, Uttiyo, you're going to come under a bit of fire. And here are some rapid fire questions, and you're not supposed to think before you answer them. Your favorite school memory?
I think my favorite school memory is us with my friends over there who have been lifelong friends, mentors, guides, and really something I cherish. You are amongst one of those. Vineet is amongst one of those. My teacher I talked about, Manju Shankaran, is there. Our journey in that army truck going to school, those are absolutely etched in stone in my mind.
I can well imagine. Okay, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Both.
And why? Both. Do you sleep?
Barely.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
If I could heal.
Lovely. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
My two boys.
Okay. Last book that you read that left a lasting impression?
The last book I read, interestingly, was the dictionary.
All right. Now, you have already visited many countries, but if you could visit any country right now, where would you go?
There are a few countries on my list that I've not had a chance to go. But I don't think it's the country. I mean, the place that I'm on my bucket list right now to get to is see and hike up to the North Pole.
Ah, lovely. What's your favorite cartoon character and why?
Mandrake.
The magician.
Yes, I'm using an Indian reference here. I don't think it is that popular, but Lee Falk and his character, Mandrake and Phantom
Comics.
But Mandrake with his ability to change things with magic. I wish I could.
Wonderful. If you were to write your autobiography, what would its title be?
Not me.
Okay. If you could eat one thing and only one thing throughout the year, what would it be?
Oh, that is painful. I wish there could be more. That's difficult. I want to say some sweets and then
Sandesh.
Sandesh, yes, Sandesh.
All right. If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be?
If I could meet a historical figure, I'd like to get a chance to meet Gautam Buddha.
Lovely. Uttiyo, it was such a delight talking to you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the Chai with Director Rai at IIMI with Uttiyo Raychaudhuri, the Vice Provost of the University of Denver.